Looks like we're live.
And it looks like we're live, so I'm going to start with the video.
You are watching the Always Go Big Interview Podcast. It's an interview with those who have big dreams. My name is Troy Ritchie, and I'm a future filmmaker with enormous aspirations. Join me in receiving inspiration from some of the most influential people with big dreams of their own. Learn how to overcome negative self-talk, remain focused, and accomplish everything you've ever dreamed possible by their example. If you ever wanted to be a part of someone before they broke big, now's your chance on the Always Go Big Interview Podcast.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us on the Always Go Big Interview Podcast. I have a special guest who's a good friend, Kevin Kwok, who's with us with J29 Creative Group. Kevin, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. So it's a nice cloudy and cold morning here in Kansas City.
Yes. You know, I have a meeting later today, a coffee meeting later today in person, and it's at a Hawaiian coffee shop where they serve 100% Kona. So I'm not drinking my coffee right now. However, I really wanted to do coffee with Kevin. Spell coffee with a K. I think there's some branding opportunities.
I got mine.
Coffee with Kevin. You can brand that as a 2Ks there. So like I told you in prep, and like I tell anyone who's watching this now, the thousands of fans that are watching it right now, not really, maybe later, this is a podcast not about you to present mind-blowing information. It's not a tutorial. It's really about telling your story. It's called the Always Go Big Interview Podcast because we want to hear about your big dream. We want to hear about how you accomplished your big dream, or where you're at. And so the tagline of "Before They Broke Big," right, is talking to people like yourself before you've broken big, hearing about where you're at, hearing about your journey. And for you, video is an important part of your journey. Tell us a little bit about how you got started with video.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I've always been kind of a left and right brain. So my background is actually software engineering. So I'm not the most creative thing in the world. And back in, I think since 2000, and I would say in my college days, right, I've always documented myself. So I've always had entrepreneur mind, go as far back as doing some personal training. I used to be I don't look like it now. I was a natural bodybuilder, competed all throughout college. So
Wow.
Back then we started doing a little video on our big cameras of our workouts and stuff, right? This is when influencers wasn't even a word. It wasn't even popular. It was just, I managed a YMCA and had a few guys that worked with me. And we made little videos of ourselves. And then we were like, hey, instead of doing one-on-one with clients, why don't we just do video training and just give it to them, right? So we're always a little progressive in the way I did things. So I was big on even, I'm a church guy. I'm a Christian, and I'm proud of that. And we did a lot of creative stuff throughout youth groups and
Sure.
in church video, as well, Troy, is always a big thing. So I got connected with a lot of creators, and we would just make video for church stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then throughout my journey, when I ended up doing the J29, I actually had a company called J29 Global back in Springfield, Missouri, early by 2004, 2005. Mm-hmm. And that's when I started having the idea of doing things with video, but not in the business-like way, a little more like creative, where, hey, no one knows who we are. So I always say we were the hipsters before hipsters were even a thing. So we started a little it was a web agency. We built websites in downtown Springfield. We got a place across a couple coffee shops, and we did the wood floor, open concept. I got laid off from my engineering job and had a nice little severance package. I was single, so I had no responsibilities. I was like, hey, let's start my own thing, right? So that's when the whole video idea actually was birthed, right? We're like, can we actually showcase fun videos to drive back traffic to our web design business.
Awesome.
You know,
And what year was this?
This was 2000 and around 2004.
So that's at the front end of like,
Yep.
How old was YouTube at that time?
So it's funny. YouTube was in the early stages. So we actually did this for MySpace.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's before LinkedIn was definitely a resume platform. Facebook wasn't around. So, and then of course, you know, just like any young guy, I opened a restaurant and bar in around 2000 and
well, hold on. Let me just interject with that. So that's a great way to kind of introduce how you started with video. It all started with an idea, and then based on a video that I saw that you sent over in prep, was it your dad that said, "Hey, come to the restaurant with me"?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I for a younger guy, you know, I got to do my share of traveling, and I actually made decent money when you it's funny. I actually moved back at home when I was in my 20s. I was you know, I would probably already in my later 20s, actually mid 20s, around there. Yeah. And I actually made pretty good money. So I actually started the restaurant because I knew it was kind of my dad's dream. He wanted to do something with his son. So we did this together. You know, when you're in your 20s, restaurant and bar sounds amazing, you know. I didn't know the investment of time that it took, you know. So got into the restaurant bar business, and that's when I got J29 Global. I had a partner at the time, or collaborators that I work with. They ended up taking that over, and I was all in the restaurant business. And and I think that's when I really took an interest in social media marketing, right? So when you have a restaurant and bar, our target audience was definitely, it was a Cajun restaurant bar. We had a huge college crowd, so we were very much targeting back then. I guess it was millennials, so it was the younger generation coming up through college, and MySpace was the thing. So that's when we really created, like, hey, how do we document our journey opening this restaurant bar? How do we showcase the employees? And it's funny because you got to remember that was like 2005 to 2008, that time. And nothing has really changed. It's still all about connecting with your target audience, connecting with people. And we created a lot of very candid, raw videos of just the journey. So it's not more like, hey, we have the best food in town, the funnest, you know, bar. But it was, hey, here's Kevin. I'm in my 20s. I'm getting ready to put this bar together, and this is it. Here's our journey. Here's our struggles.
Yeah. Now, just, and I asked this with all my guests related to video. So you have the idea, you put the video together, you publish it. When did you realize, oh, snap, this is really working? Like, how soon after did you realize it? Because video is a medium, right? What you're talking about is the authentic storytelling. That's really, so when you think about, those of you that are watching, when you think about, I don't have the equipment, that's an excuse. Right? That's not an explanation. You can still do it with your phone or whatever it is if you have that authentic storytelling. When did you realize that, dude, this is really good, whether it's MySpace or whatever medium it was on?
I think so I wouldn't say during my MySpace time it was the realization of, hey, video was really good. It was just social media was really good because it was such a early time, and there wasn't much people that was doing social media the right way, right? MySpace was a great place to meet, you know, a girl that you can go on a date with.
Right? Bands,
Yep. And music groups and different things. But I think I know this in our revenue in a restaurant. Like, we were one of those restaurants, we're up against so in Kansas City, there's a you know, there's a brand that's all over everywhere now, Big Whiskey Bar and Grill. And they're in different towns now, different locations. So my restaurant bar at the time was right up with them. So we're competing, and it was unique because we did it all organically through social media. And I think I started realizing it's like the power of social media and being able to put yourself out there. And then we grew our MySpace page at the time, I think up to like 5-6K followers. And back then that's huge for a small town, right? Mm-hmm. And we were able to actually drive traffic according to, it's almost like we were able to turn the faucet on when we wanted to and turn it off.
And you saw it because your restaurant, your physical location. You saw the difference when people walked up.
Yeah, we saw the difference. Well, there was a bar business too. The numbers, the place filling up, and just the amount of noise when people start talking. You became almost a local celebrity. Yeah, but we're talking about 2005, 2006. Yeah, I mean nowadays, I can go back to my hometown. And people would be like, that's Kevin Kwok, you know? Yeah. And it's because of social media, right?
And what's interesting is that's the result. That was never your purpose.
That was never my purpose.
Yeah, right? Your purpose isn't to be a rock star. The result is your purpose is to put the business out there. Now the restaurant's going good, and then tragedy struck, right?
Yep. And then tragedy struck. So in 2007, my father got diagnosed with cancer. And it was one of those things. He started having some pain, and we didn't know. He was always a healthy guy, so he was my executive chef. So it's a unique restaurant. It was a fine dining restaurant, Cajun fusion restaurant with a bar atmosphere, with the Louisiana Mardi Gras thing. So he had cancer, but it spread within like honestly 8 to 9 months. So it went from his liver to his lungs, and I lost my dad in November 1st, 2007. And it's funny because we're on the show. Today is 10/29. This is actually the hardest time, usually during winter. My father and I was close. We own a business together. And I think that's when I realized, like, hey, who is Kevin, and what do I want for myself? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be really candid and honest. A big part of it was called Easy's Restaurant Bar. And for those in the audience, I do have LinkedIn people that went to that bar back in the days. Yeah. It was a huge college nightlife business. And during that time, I started evaluating who I was. Sure. And what I grew up, like I said earlier, in church, and and by no means I'm not a Bible thumper or put things in a box.
Oh, come on now.
But I do feel like you gotta find like your why. Mm-hmm. And I remember that night, I actually had one of my busiest nights at that restaurant, and I had to run it. I had to learn how to cook.
And he had already He had already passed.
Yep, he had already passed. And I remember it was holidays are a busy time for us, and we did one of our busiest nights, and I ended up shutting everything, and I was just bawling on my kitchen floor. And I made good money. I had my own house. For a younger guy, it's what the world would define as success, no
wife at this time?
No wife. Okay. No. So I started evaluating, like, who is Kevin and what do I really want? Is this for me? And I decided to walk away because I noticed the young people that were around me, the friends that were around me, they weren't real friends. They were there for me because of my business, right? And that's when I just I decided to write a letter to all my employees, email, and told them, hey, I'm going to place you somewhere else because I do care about my staff. And hey, I'm just going to walk away. But when you walk away and when you're young, you don't just walk away from stuff, right? And I walk away with loans and debt and different things. When you're a young entrepreneur and your dad just died, you aren't thinking clearly. Yeah. So I had triple net lease. For those of you in real estate, you understand how that worked. Yeah. And I ended up with a bankruptcy. But I loved it. looking back when I'm away from the storm,
Sure.
I realized how much I learned during that journey and during those seasons. And now with my business today, J29 Creative Group, the digital marketing agency, I kind of know what I want and what works and what doesn't. Right.
Yeah. And, I'm glad that you keep using the term walk away. One of the topics in my book is the difference between quitting and walking away. You didn't quit. You made a decision and you walked away. And the way I describe the difference is if you look in the future at what you're involved in or what you're doing and it doesn't bring you joy, it's time to walk away. If you look to the future and what you're doing and the path that you're heading on is really what you want to do and you quit, then that's where you need to keep pushing through, right? It's always going back to that end journey. So I like that you figured that out. Now, so your dad passed and you closed down the business. You got the bankruptcy. This is what I tell my wife and anyone that asks, because I've declared bankruptcy. I've got 15 more to declare until I hit Walt Disney status. So Walt Disney was a pretty cool, successful guy. So bankruptcy is there for a purpose, and as long as you're not abusing it. And so now you get back into this creative. So if I'm understanding correctly, you took a detour. J29 was established a long time ago. Maybe kind of a detour, and now you're back at it.
Yep. And there's a significance to J29, right? So throughout my college career, J29 stands for Jeremiah 29:11. For those of you who read the Bible, is for I know the plans I have for you, plans to not to harm you, but give you hope in the future, right?
Yeah.
And that was really significant when I lost my dad, and I think in the business world, right, you have to have a clear vision of your end game. Yeah. I might have taken a bankruptcy for that particular business.
Sure.
But by heart, I was always an entrepreneur. I never left that dream. I've never, like you said, given up, right?
Yep.
It was a detour. And actually, I always look at it as kind of like a Jedi. I went through the detour to find myself, and then I went through some training, what I call my career journey after Easy's. I had to be humble and go work for people. When I worked for people, I became better because now I've been on both sides, and that's one thing about being a young entrepreneur. I think sometimes when you're young in your 20s and you start this entrepreneur's journey, you get caught up in the success, because I have restaurant bar. I was probably making 6-figure, live in a big house. It's easy to get caught up in that.
Right. That's right.
And you have all the friends in the world, because every young person, when you own a bar, they won't be your friend. And I quickly, when I lost my dad, I realized, man, life is really short.
It is.
And blink of an eye, it can all be gone. This can be taken from you. All your success, everything you built. And I saw it. My dad worked so hard. He was an immigrant. He moved here from Hong Kong. And all I knew of my dad is he worked.
Yeah.
And then it was gone. And so for me, it was a wake-up call. It's like, you're doing well now, but is this really what?
Now, did you find that like you talk about, is this really what I want to do? Is that really what your dad wanted to do? Like, was he living his passion out with that restaurant?
I think, he was his dream at the end. And he ended up being able to do it. With his son. That
is fantastic. And so when you think about video, I had a job interview yesterday, and I encouraged the owner of the company to go to my YouTube channel and watch my videos on sales, because your resume, you can really hide some things, and if you're a good salesperson, then you can really sell over a resume. Video, you can't hide. It's very difficult to hide, even with all the cuts and the edits and that sort of thing. And so, because we have imperfections, I have crooked teeth. My parents, I never got braces growing up, so I think about that. the people that are hearing your story about, and we have a question about how can you be active and innovative in social media. I'm going to say video is one way to do that. When you do that first video, and I know this from coaching others. Oh, actually, let me close the loop. So I told the guy that I was interviewing with, go watch my videos. It's difficult. You can't hide with video. So go watch my video and you'll see what kind of employee, if I'm a good fit or whatnot. And I love the fact that video can't hide and it shows your blemishes. My buddy Peter Lynch is writing a book, The Ugly Advantage. And that's really an advantage when you show those blemishes. But for the individuals that's watching this, they've heard it from all the LinkedIn influencers, start doing video, and they're having negative thoughts that we all go through. How did you overcome those negative thoughts as you first started doing video?
I think for me, when I first started video consistently with, I would say J29 Creative Group, when I started the company I have today. So I would say it was probably around 4 years ago when we decided, hey, I need to put myself out there and start doing videos on a consistent basis, right? Mm-hmm. And it was like crickets. Like if you're looking at views, it's like no one's looking at these things. We have hundreds of videos on YouTube, and you're like, I have my mom, grandmother, and aunt and uncle, subscribing, and I think it wasn't so much. I was never camera shy because I was already doing videos for the restaurant throughout all these years. So that never bothered me. It's just, you get down on yourself when it's like, okay, I'm keep doing this stuff and no one's even watching, it's like, so I think to overcome that is just patience,
What about the person now that's good advice from like me that I do video. What about the person that's never done one? Yep. Like they would be happy that only 20 people are watching.
Yeah.
Is it a personality thing? Can you overcome that fear? Public speaking is like the number one fear in the United States, and video is a lot like that.
This is why I always tell my clients, okay, because we work with a lot of clients that, and we shoot video.
Yeah.
The key is block everything out. Honestly, you're just talking to yourself in the mirror.
Even the camera, you block out the camera too, right?
Yep, block out the camera and just think, hey, you're just talking to yourself. Yeah. And in reality, when you're shooting the video, you are just talking to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have a person in front of you. So it's not like public speaking. You have an audience of 50,
sure.
And it's okay. And it's the imperfections that makes videos perfect.
Yeah.
And I measure all that, right? In my company. I put organic video out, and then I put my really well-produced video out.
So how do you get over the thoughts, though? I'm not going to let you slip away from the negative thoughts because I will share this. Some of my worst videos that I think are the worst videos get the most views. Yep. Some of the best, like when I'm done, I'm like, dude, that is incredible, man. I got to get this out there. And like crickets, right? Like you said. But like when you have negative thoughts, what are some things that you did to overcome them to do that first video? If you can remember back that was a long time ago. Yep. And I know that anyone's worked with youth groups. We don't have a lot of we're just going to do it, right? We're just going to get the video. We're going to have fun. We're going to be goofy. But there is the very first one, if you can go back to that and kind of offer some hope, because where you're at now, if people realize that you were where they are today, seeing where you are now, I think it's a tremendous, you can give them hope.
Yep. So I think the biggest thing is don't judge, don't be hard on yourself, and take action. Just do it. Do it. Do it. Post it. Even with all the negative thought, post it.
Yeah.
And then just let it happen. For me, I think what I do is I post it and then don't even look at it, and just walk away. And then all of a sudden, you'll see like 10 days later, oh my goodness, people are like, it helps when people start commenting and go, you look great, or you did this good. Yeah. The key is, I think with social media, videos, all this stuff is we spend way too much time being hard on ourselves and strategizing instead of just taking action. And a video is one of those things you got to take that first step.
Don't wait for the equipment, right? Just grab your phone.
Don't wait for the equipment. And today, I mean, it's a lot better than, I mean, when I first did it, I mean, those cameras were a little expensive. You got the big VHS tapes you got to carry around. I say, you know, use your phone. I mean, it shoots 4K nowadays.
That's right.
And,
so
you know,
what are some real life successes? Like you talked about your clients and you've got to convince them that, you know, pretend like no one's there. You're coaching them along. Share with us some of successes that your clients have had working with you or J29 Creative.
I think some of the clients, one of the biggest thing is if they stick around for the long game, right? It pays off because I seen clients, you know, I had a construction company and back in the days, they were actually, all their work was from the property management group.
Okay.
So pretty much they got their work from them. And we changed the paradigm. And I was like, you guys are doing the work anyway. Why don't we go direct? Right. So we had them start documenting their social media journey and even doing some videos of themselves out on the field and doing these construction jobs and talking about it. And they went from just, you know, I would say 6-figure to a $4 million company, you know, but it was over time. They were one of my first clients. They're still my clients, but it took time. Like people have to understand, like there's no 1 month over 1 month overnight. And if people are telling you that it can happen, then social media is not the medium. Video takes time. It's almost like, think about the episodes you watch, right?
Yeah. And this, let me interject. This is where you get back to purpose and result, right? If the purpose is for those views, you are going to be crying, crushed, because it's never going to match that. If your purpose is, I'm going to tell my authentic story, I'm going to share with them. And then if no one watches it, your purpose was fulfilled, right? We don't have control over our results. And what we do have control over is the purpose of why we do things. And I think that is a great message to remind them all the time, is like what you said. And this is what I tell people. I do a podcast every day and I have 30 subscribers, right? Last year I had 20. So, hey, you know, incrementally it's growing. But like a lot of times when I do the podcast, I'm doing it for me. And then I listen to it later. And so I think when you get into authentic storytelling, if you're stuck, that's one thing you can always remember is that what do I want to tell myself? Because we all go through those times, right? So I think that is great. So that construction company, they ended up having success then with you.
Yeah. And, you know, and I see it over time with a lot of clients who stick with it, right? It's hard to stick with it, you know, being able to do videos. You know, I know you guys did some of the, is it 90-day challenge or 30-day? I know Nick did it as well. And it's challenging. I think my biggest part is the consistency, you know? I mean, it's almost like you don't see it. You got to have faith in it that, hey, it's going to give you an ROI. But I love what you just said. The reason I do it, right? I do video. I mean, because I document it early, now I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. I can play these videos for them because I look back when I lost my father in 2007. How awesome would that be if he documented his entrepreneur journey and I can go back and watch these things?
That's right.
Like, for me, it's like, hey, I'm leaving a legacy behind, and it's not for you guys. I can care less, right? If you want to watch me, you don't like Kevin Kwok, that's fine too. But my sons, they can go back and go, that's who my dad was. Isn't that awesome? Now, and they get to learn about grandpa because I'm talking about grandpa on Troy's show, you know, that they've never met, you know. So
and like I said, you can't really hide on video. When you're writing, you know, you can leave some things out when you're showing video. So no, I'm a big fan. Now tell us a little bit about what in the world is happening with the views on LinkedIn going down.
It's crazy,
Have
right?
you noticed that?
Yes, I have. So it almost seemed like LinkedIn's always gone back and forth. That we go through seasons where videos are awesome, and then we go through seasons where long form content, text does well. And right now we're definitely going through that season. And for me, I always tell people, you get over the hunch by keep doing it, because the algorithm changes on a daily basis. You know, you can never keep up with whoever the gods of LinkedIn are, right? The powers to be who decides how these algorithms go. And I think even they don't know. I think it has to do, I was a software engineer. So the way I look at it, these platforms are still tech. And anyone that's written code in the past, whenever you do updates and changes, it affects something else. Things break. That's just development and programming. So right now they're pushing Instagram stories, they're pushing live shows and different things. So I think all that affects viewership on video content.
And what I've noticed is that it seems like the followers are deeper rather than wide. So less, however, they are true followers. And they are absolutely dialed into who you are. So even though it's less, it's a deeper connection. Would you agree with that? Yeah, that's what I seeing.
Agree.
Now, how about other content creators? I know the Milwaukee Magic. Milwaukee has got just a ton of great content. You're in Kansas City, is that right?
Yep, I am.
Go Chiefs. I'm predicting a Chiefs Seahawks Super Bowl. I won't tell you who I'm predicting to win. But just to see Russ and Patrick, don't call him Pat. Mahomes go back and forth. It'd be awesome. So what's the content creator? I'm trying to build it up here in Vegas. COVID's a little bit of a curveball, but like what's the creators out in Kansas City like? I know you got Jake out there. What are some other creators that you kind of connect with there?
Yeah, so I mean, there's quite a few creators out there. I know Andrew Morgan's at Markology. They do a great job on Instagram. I know Jake Horseth is big on Gen Z. You got Jake Shirk. I love that guy. Great content out there, right? He went from having a job. I met him a while back in a coffee shop, and now he's unemployed, and he decided to start Shirk Media. But his content's great. He picked up video himself, right?
Well, he's got the name.
Yep.
I mean, anytime you have a name like Shark, you're in the right. That's awesome. I'll check him out. What's his name? Jake Shark?
Shark. SHIRK, right? Yep. I'll tag him later.
Yeah. That is very cool. So is there kind of a camaraderie like in the area of you local content creators? Do you ever get together, whether it's pre-COVID or virtually, or what's that like? That dynamic like?
I think a lot of us pass work to each other, and we collaborate a lot. Pre-COVID. With COVID, it's been a lot different. Personally, I've been home a lot. I do everything virtual, but definitely it's a tight knit group. Everyone knows each other. We even share some of the editors or videographers at times and different things. Really? And the film industry is definitely tight too. There's a lot of competitions and different things like that. Yeah.
Is there a film industry in Kansas City?
There is, surprising. Well, Walt Disney started here. That's what Kansas City loved to claim, right?
Oh, I did not know that.
So there's definitely a lot of people trying to do film out here.
Sure.
But then they always end up in LA, right? If they make it.
Yes. I'm hoping Vegas. Vegas is the entertainment capital of the world, but never. It's more of the stage type entertainment. So tell us a little bit about J29. Let's say some clients are watching this and they're curious about what you guys do. Who's the best fit for your services? Is it individuals? Is it companies? Companies of what size? Share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I would say mid-sized companies who doesn't quite have their own marketing department, right? Okay. A lot of times, from my experience when I first started J29, is because I was a marketing director right before that. A lot of the people have companies where they piece out the marketing team,
Sure.
right? So you might have a web developer who wears several hats and do some social media stuff, and then the secretary does some content writing, right? So that's our ideal audience. Is we're a full stack agency, so we're almost like a subcontracted CMO service where, hey, we become your, a branch of your business, and the goal is a long-term partnership where we grow together, right?
Are you ever interim? Like, is it where a company is searching for a CMO and you still need to get stuff done with the amount of resumes that are out there? Companies have the pick of a litter. Can you come in with a company for like a stint or like an interim basis? Do you ever do that type of work?
We don't do as much that type of work. Really, it's more, you get our marketing team and we help you spearhead your campaigns and look at hey, this is the digital footprint and here's the strategy to execute. My big thing for 2021 is we empower you to do digital marketing better. We're not here to take jobs. This is what we do daily. We live and breathe as a team. So if you need an eye on video content, how do we take video and tell that authentic story? J29 can come in for you. There's no way one marketing director can see everything because,
I was going to say, and they're so close to their product that a lot of times when I talk to founders, their perspective, I think it's called a scotoma or something, when you're so dialed in that someone like you with a third party perspective, right, can really take what they're trying to say, the message they're trying to say, and then put it into a story from the audience's perspective as opposed to the perspective of the business. I think that's a huge help.
Yep, I agree. Yep.
Yeah. So as far as like, what advice can you give the listeners here that is in that medium size business? So you're not coming to take their job, right? But you can come in. Like, what advice would you give them pre J29? In other words, something that they can utilize for their business, and it's free, right? You're just giving them tips or whatnot. Is there anything you can give? Like, what's the first piece of advice when you meet someone and they say, "Hey, how can I improve the bottom line?" Right, whatever that bottom line is, whether it's viewers or what's kind of your answer? And this is kind of a curveball question.
I always tell people I hate the word digital marketing, right? I have it for SEO purposes, and different things, right? But the truth is digital marketing is marketing today. We can't deny it. Look at the politicians, look at the big brands, look at everything, right? Why are we on this show today? We're doing a form of marketing, right? And social media, as much as you either hate it or you like it, whatever, right? I always say marketing's never change. Sales doesn't change. The vehicles change. You have new tools. And social media is a free tool, right? Depending if you need coaching, you need help, then it might cost you something. But at the end of the day, it's a free tool. And you have it available to you. So do something on it. Take action. And I promise you, over time, the problem social media doesn't work. Social media is a tool, is a container. It still depends on the person behind it to input the data, to input the content into it. And if you don't do it, you're not going to get the results. So my key thing is have consistency. If you're good with video, then do video. If you're good at writing, write. If you're good photographer, take pictures of yourself. I don't care, but take action, do something, and do it for the long run. Take a year and do it consistently. And then come back and tell me, hey, if it didn't work, it didn't do anything for me, it didn't get me any opportunities, then, hey, maybe we can look at it further. But otherwise, most people who actually listen and actually do it long-term, I can guarantee you they'll see opportunities. And this is not just from a business standpoint. From a career standpoint too. People who are consistent with content on LinkedIn, on the right channels, they get the job.
Yeah. And then, so how do people get a hold of you? What's the best way to get a hold of you? Is it your website? Is it on LinkedIn or?
Yep. So I'm very active, most active on LinkedIn because that's
Okay.
where I feel works for me, my personality. So I have myself, Kevin F. Kwok, or you can do at J29 Creative. That's my company. And then through Twitter, all the mediums is at J29 Creative, YouTube, even Pinterest, so I'm on all
Yeah.
of them. And
Yeah.
then my Facebook page, I keep it pretty personal. So once I get to know you, I might add you as well.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure. This is great. And again, everyone that's watching, this is the Always Go Big interview podcast. If you're interested in being a guest, we don't want you to come on here and give some silly sales pitch about what you do or what guru-ness you're an expert at. We just want to hear your personal story and the big dream that you're committed to. This is about meeting with people before they broke big. Now, if Gary Vee or anybody wants to come on, that's cool too, because they've already broken big. But for now, if you're interested in being a guest on the Always Go Big interview podcast, go to alwaysgobig.com and put your application in and make sure you include your big dream. Kevin, thank you so much for sharing. You're living the dream, baby. And that's fantastic. Say hello to your beautiful family for me. And remember, in business and in life, never go small, always go big. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, thank you, Troy. Appreciate it.